the show this week, the wait is finally over and we take a look at the new Hyundai Verna. Rohit goes green with the Mercedes AMG GTR and the latest on motoring news. Hi, welcome to Overdrive. I'm Soini Datna. It's been far too long, but there is a new Hyundai Verna out in the market and we send Rohit to Kochi to find out whether the car is worth its weight.
The Hyundai cars of recent times have started seeming more European than Korean. The designs are cleaning up well, the cabins are dressing up in a more sophisticated manner, the materials have started feeling more premium both inside and out and across various price ranges. And all their cars, well, they've started resembling each other a little too much like the Volkswagens. Now that isn't exactly a bad thing, and the Verna in particular can certainly benefit from that approach. The outgoing Verna is a tad too long in the tooth, but the fluidic design language did make an impact and even the competition was forced to respond with radical designs. The face looks handsome and sharp. I prefer the older design of Hyundai's hexagonal grille, and the new one draws attention away from the other good-looking bits like the sleek headlamps or the detailed fog lamp housings. There is no denying though that the cascading grille with its chrome treatment looks more premium. The headlamps have LED DRLs that are shaped similar to those on the Elantra. Ditto for the detailing of the tail lights and the rear bumper. The latter looks quite smart with its two-tone combination. The Verna also incorporates the Elantra's hands-free function for the boot lid, which means that you simply walk close to the car with the key in your pocket, it will detect it, give you 3 beeps and then open the boot lid on its own. It's a nice function to have if you're a shopaholic. And at 480 litres, it's not exactly the best-in-class boot space, but it's quite well laid out and very easy to load as well. The sharp shoulder line and the detailing of the doors looks classy, while the headlights and the taillights extending sharply into the bodywork adds a sense of motion to the design. Look at the side profile and you will notice that the Verna has a tall boy stance compared to the sporty low-slung poise of the Elantra. The cabin of the Verna though isn't reminiscent of the Elantra. It takes a more Hyundai typical approach of using black and beige color combinations for its dashboard fascia and its upholstery. The layout is quite similar to that of the Creta, and you have this gloss black panel here which is a fingerprint magnet as expected, but what I like is the satin finish bezels that you have around the AC vents and the infotainment system, and the materials for all the touch points, they feel quite premium. This cabin doesn't give you that plasticky feel that some of this car's rivals do. The front seats are quite accommodating and now come with a ventilated function. The latter complements a well-tuned automatic air conditioning system which worked flawlessly in the hot and humid weather of Kochi during our tests. Cooling at the rear is quite effective too. If I remember right, the rear seat of the Ciaz feels a tad bit more roomier as compared to the Verna, but as far as the Verna is concerned, it gives you ample space for your head, for your knees, for your feet. There's good under-thigh support as well, and like the Ciaz, you also get this window blind which is manually operated. Now, the cushioning is slightly on the firmer side, so I think it's going to be quite good for long distance journeys. We have hardly driven about 200 kilometers today, but in that 200 kilometers, it has felt quite comfortable. The angle of the backrest, the contouring of the seats, it's quite good. The rear seat is good enough for 2 adults and a kid, and you have head restraints only for 2 adults, so strictly for 2 adults and a kid. The top spec trims come with a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system similar to the one in the Creta. It gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, MirrorLink and satellite navigation. The storage spaces and all the switches fall easily at hand. Overall, the Verna's cabin doesn't seem like the most spacious cabin of the lot, but is easily the most premium one in the category in its look and feel. None of the famous crash testing facilities around the world have released any sort of data regarding the crashworthiness of this car. However, Hyundai promises that the Verna is now safer than before, and more than 50% of the chassis is constructed using advanced high-strength steels. They have also used hot-stamped body parts, they have also used newer bonding technologies, all to make sure that the structure is now safer and also has better crumple zones. In terms of safety features, the driver and the co-passenger airbags are now standard across the range. On the range-topping trims, you can have up to 6 airbags. Anti-lock brakes are also standard, so are the ISOFIX mounts for mounting child seats, and they are neatly tucked away in the rear seat. They are not visible and nicely tucked away. Connected technologies and smartphone applications specific to the vehicle or to the brand seem to be the in thing these days. Some of Hyundai's rivals are doing it, and the Verna also happens to be the first vehicle to get an application like this. The application basically is a collection of nifty little tools, some of which are tools like the ones that let you track your vehicle in a parking spot, some tools that will let you keep track of your service history, also set service reminders. You can also browse through the vehicle's driving data or driving history. So if you want to keep a check on your chauffeur or maybe your kids, you can do that as well. It's a nifty little app and is available for both the iPhone as well as Android phones. In fact, we did try using it. It's quite convenient, quite easy to use. The app is not too laggy either. The only catch is it's only available with the top spec trim of the Verna so far, because it requires a hardware module to be integrated with the infotainment system. The new Verna chucks the entry-level 1.4-litre motors from the model it replaces, but continues to use the 1.6-litre 4-cylinder engines for its petrol and diesel options. Both the engines can now also be had with a 6-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual transmission, and the diesel manual is what we got our hands on for this test. The moment you crank up the engine, you will be reminded of how refined Hyundai's new-age diesel motors feel. At idling RPM, you just can't tell it's a diesel motor. That's how refined and that's how silent it sounds, thanks to all the new sound deadening material that has been used in the chassis and the bodywork. It's only past the 3,500 RPM mark where you get a tiny bit of that gravelly note, but that's something that you can live with on a daily basis. As far as the output is concerned, 128 PS and 260 Newton meters, those are class-leading figures, and I don't need a V-Box to tell you that the Verna, yet again, will be one of the quickest cars in its lot. Where it matters in the real world though, is in the way in which it can pull quick overtakes or cruise effortlessly on the highway. You can happily be in third or the fourth gear for most of the urban duties, and to add to the convenience, the clutch pedal is now lighter and has lost its springy nature. On the highway, the Verna will cruise at 100 km an hour at about 2000 RPM. That should also give it excellent fuel economy despite the high power and torque outputs. Hyundai has been improving the driving dynamics lately, and the Verna plays testimony to the fact. Unlike the outgoing model, which had a floaty feel at highway speeds, the new one feels significantly more sure-footed thanks to the longer wheelbase. And around the twisties, it feels quite stable as well. Hyundai also says that they have worked on the overall suspension geometry, which also improves the ride and the handling. There is a bit of vertical movement when you hit the switchbacks. However, the ride quality, it's phenomenal. It just reminds me of the Elantra again. The suspension remains silent when you go over potholes, ruts and joints, and that's a very good thing. Hyundai also seems to have put in a significant amount of effort in improving the feel and the feedback of the steering system. Now, around switchbacks, around twisties, the effort is evident. However, at slower city speeds, you feel that the movement of the steering has that elastic feel to it, where the steering is a little too eager to come back to its center position. It's not something that's difficult to live with. However, you might miss the light and convenient steering wheels that you had on the previous Hyundai cars. If I was given a choice though, I would take this over those lifeless steering systems of the older Hyundais. Overall, the Verna is easy to drive and feels convenient in the city and on the highway. It isn't an enthusiast driver, but I personally wouldn't mind living with a Verna anymore. The Verna then reminds me of the Elantra in more ways than one, and that isn't a bad thing. Its elder sibling has won all the comparisons that we put her through, and the Verna scores high on all the counts that actually made the Elantra win. Now, Hyundai has also managed to package and price this car quite well, despite the absence of the entry-level 1.4-litre engines and the inclusion of new generation safety technologies and creature comforts.
Well, as we've mentioned time and again, the executive sedan segment has seen a major slump in the market thanks to the crossovers and the SUVs taking over the market space. But we do hope that this new Hyundai Verna manages to shake things up in the executive sedan space. Time for us to take our first break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we have Auto Selector with Bert and a lot more. Welcome back. You've joined us on our Auto Selector segment here on the show with the Overdrive Editor-in-Chief, Bertrand D'Souza. Hi Bert, our first question this week comes in from Dr. Prashant Chaudhary. He writes in saying that he wants to buy a Jeep Compass and has a budget of 14 lakh rupees, which he can stretch up to 18 lakh rupees. But he has heard that Jeep is all set to launch the Renegade next year, which he estimates will be around 12 lakh rupees. So what he'd like to know is whether he should go for the Jeep Compass or should he wait for the Renegade?
Well, Prashant, there's a clear difference between the two vehicles, the Compass and the Renegade, and what you heard is true. Jeep will launch the Renegade in India next year. Now, this will be mid of next year. We're probably expecting to see it at the Auto Expo in Greater Noida. But having said that, the Renegade is a product that will be priced between the Brezza and the Creta. So you're looking at a pricing somewhere between, let's say, 7 to about 12 lakh rupees. Now, will it have all of Jeep's inherent DNA? That's what the company has said, that the Renegade will have all of the DNA, all of its products for that matter will have the traditional Jeep DNA, which means you will get four-wheel drive powertrains as well. And that's one of the big highlights that we're looking forward to in the Renegade as well. Now, what you need to decide is whether you want the larger, slightly more luxurious car over the more affordable, more value packaged product like the Renegade. Now, that is something that you need to decide on. However, having said that, the Jeep Compass that we have driven is a fantastic vehicle, great dynamics, great on-road abilities, good off-road abilities as well. And I think it's something that will really serve its purpose well for several years going forward. Much more, I probably presume, than what the Renegade will be able to offer you. So, my suggestion would be go with the Compass. You'll be pretty happy with that. But then again, the Renegade is a funky product, and if you'd like to wait, well, definitely wait for it.
Well, Bert, our final question this week comes in from Rajesh. He says that he's been driving a Vento for the past 5 years and wants to know, does Honda have any plans to introduce an automatic transmission in diesel models like the Honda City or any other car in their range?
Well, Rajesh, at this moment, Honda has no plans to introduce an automatic with the diesel model. Again, keep in mind that the only automatic that they got in the petrol is also a CVT, and I'm not sure that CVT makes a lot of sense for a diesel model where the higher torque outputs are there. So, to me, at this point in time, Honda is not making any plans or not going to launch any automatic version with the diesel City, or for that matter, any of the other models that they've got in their portfolio. Whatever is presently on offer for Indian consumers, that's exactly what you're going to get.
Well, just like the others, if you have any more queries, don't hesitate to send them to us at helpdesk@overdrive.co.in. That is our email address. You can also Facebook or tweet us your queries and we will get Bert to answer them for you. For now though, it's time for us to check out the latest in our motoring news section.
The Porsche Cayenne may have upset the purists when it debuted back in 2003, but the SUV has played a vital role in giving the German performance car maker the bragging rights of being one of the most profitable car brands in the world. The Cayenne has now moved into its third generation with the model that you see here. Slated to debut at the upcoming Frankfurt Motor Show, the new Cayenne is longer than before, but sits on the same wheelbase. Sharing its platform with the Audi Q7 and the Bentley Bentayga, the Cayenne also gets access to a 48-volt electrical system which powers new-age driving aids like active anti-roll bars. The Cayenne only gets two petrol engine options for now, the base being powered by a 340 PS 3-litre V6 which manages a 5.9 second 0 to 100 and a top speed of 245 km/h with the Sports Chrono pack. The Cayenne S gets the beefier 440 PS 2.9-litre V6 that is capable of a 5.2 second 0 to 100 and a top pack of 265 km/h. The diesel variants and the Cayenne Turbo models will be introduced in 2018, which is around the same time that the car will come to India as well.
Well, don't get too comfortable because on the other side of this break, we will bring you a beast from the green hell. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, Mercedes AMG is calling this the beast of the green hell. and Rohit was curious to find out if he could tame this particular monster. Up next, we have the Mercedes-AMG GTR.
Not so long ago, Mercedes-Benz inked a deal with Renault Nissan to share platforms and technologies. Now that sort of a thing isn't unusual in the automotive world. But if I were Nissan, I would be upset if a sports car from the three-pointed star would plonk the words GTR. Well, it's not that cars in the past haven't really worn these letters on their trunk, but then it's the Godzilla that made these three letters holy in the automotive scriptures. And to make matters worse, the flagship from Mercedes-AMG doesn't draw a line at the name. They have in fact gone ahead and bagged some bragging rights at the Notch Life of the Nürburgring, a circuit that is very dear to the GTR. AMG's GTR is no restrained beast like Nissan's GTR. It is evident even when she is standing still. There is a constant sense of motion to the design with its long bonnet and pull-back cabin, while the dagger-like fins around the gills, the carbon fiber skirts and splitters, and the vertical slats on the grille add hints of ferocity. The Pan American grille gets its name and design inspiration from the 300 SL that took part in the Pan American race in Mexico back in the 1950s. And it is astonishing how the grille alone is instrumental in making the lovely AMG GTS look pale in comparison to the GTR. Both the cars share the same engine, a 4-litre bi-turbo V8. But the turbochargers in the GTR provide a boost pressure of 1.35 bar versus the GTS's 1.2 bar, and that, among other things, helps the motor churn out more power and torque. On the track, it means that power just keeps coming strongly and smoothly. 0 to 100 comes up in 3.6 seconds, and down at the back straight of the BIC, 240, 270, 280, braking for the right-hand corner. Oh, and it brakes with authority. Oh, this is fun! This car is packed with the optional ceramic brakes, which drop the anchor. And when you have the road, you can push it to a top speed of over 318 kilometers an hour. AMG's favorite 7-speed dual-clutch transmission feeds the power to the rear wheels and doesn't leave much room for complaint in the way it functions. The gearbox now also lets you launch the car at higher revs than the GTS for quicker race starts. The party piece, however, is the new traction control system. Thanks to the promise that we made, we had to keep things tidy and preserve the tires. The natural rival of the AMG GTR is, of course, the Porsche 911 GT3. Now, this car doesn't feel as precise, as serious as the 911 GT3, but it's got this manic edge to it, which I certainly like. And like the GT3, this one also gets 4-wheel steer to make sure that this car remains agile and easy to turn, no matter what speeds you're turning in at. The 911 GT3 and the AMG GTR are both derived from GT3 race cars. Unlike Porsche's hardcore approach though, comprising of racing buckets and a roll cage, the GTR chooses comfortable yet sporty seats and a cabin wrapped in leather, in true Daimler fashion. It does incorporate other race car derived equipment like coilover suspension, uniball spherical bearings on the driven axle, carbon fiber torque tube and tunnel cross, and active aerodynamic components like the adjustable rear wing, self-adjusting front splitter, and automated air dam flaps. Even the exhaust note has been tuned to be evocative of the AMG GT3 race car. My God, it sounds good. Crackles and pops, yes, of course. But I think they should have also engineered some sort of mechanism where the grille has spits and drool coming out of it. This is a beast. Even at city speeds, the way it snarls, oh my God. This car is something else. The GTR is quicker, faster, lighter and stiffer than the AMG GTS, and the 3 laps at the BIC play testimony to those facts. It isn't an easy car to go fast in though, and loves provoking the driver with its plentiful power, and willingness to bite back when poked the wrong way. The Mercedes has been bragging about lap records at the Nürburgring, at the BIC, and the last time I checked, a lap record required really focused lines, clean connections between corners. I'm sure this car can do all of that, but I'm not sure if it likes doing all of that. This is a manic. It just wants to play. It just wants to play with its driver, and not in a good way. So if you would rather pet a beast than have a puppy, this is the car for you. Beast from the green hell? Hell yeah.
Well, that sure looked like a lot of fun, and one thing I can say for sure is that all of us have been going green with envy after watching Rohit have so much fun with that Mercedes AMG GTR. On that high note, it's time for us to bid adieu on this week's episode of Overdrive, but remember, do catch our latest videos on our YouTube channel, stay in touch with the team through Facebook as well as Twitter, and we'll see you next week. Until then, drive safe.